This program is brought to you by Snack Time. All right. Now we are ready for the next letter B.
Derrick Bell faces at the bottom of the well, The Permanence of Racism, written by this guy. Well, yes, Derrick Bell, who is a law professor, a Harvard law professor, and one of the founders of critical race theory. This is the real critical race theory, not all that propaganda nonsense that you're hearing about in American news. This book, to me, is hands down the best book I've ever read about racism. The most, it basically, for me, everything I wanted to ever understand about anti-Black racism in particular, but racism in America, he explains it, like, and beautifully. So he's got sci-fi stories in here, he's got case law in here, he's got like all essays, he's got all kinds of stuff. And the crux of the book is basically, as you can see by the bottom of the title, racism is a permanent feature of American life. That's his, he's not like, we're going to overcome racism. He's like, America was built on racism. America will always have racism. Why? Because racism is profitable. Racism makes money. The structure of the racial hierarchical structure benefits people at the top that have an investment in maintaining that. And critical race theory basically looks at how this plays out, how the law, legal systems are a key part of maintaining the structure of racism, right? So initially, slavery is legal. All of the kinds of structures that maintain racial oppression have been legal until they've been challenged. Civil rights movement came, challenged a whole bunch of racist laws. And he's like, they only make alterations to the law when they see that it's possible for it to be profitable, right? But ultimately, with any kind of change forward, there's always a backlash. So as you can see right now, there's even if they don't. So critical race theory literally looks at how racism is embedded in American law, examines multiple examples of that. His book prediction, but his thesis is true because there's a major backlash against critical race theory right now. They're banning a bunch of books that I have here. They're banning books by Toni Morrison. They're banning books by any book that talks about the reality of racism, or not just racism, queer people, anything that challenges the myths, the founding myths of America. They're literally making laws right now in the US to ban these books, ban the teaching of critical race. But I like Derrick Bell because, again, like, I equate Arma, he's saying understand the reality for what it is so that you actually understand what fight to have, right? And for him, the fight isn't to dismantle it. The fight is more, it's like knowing that you're not going to prove yourself to people who are benefiting from a system. Like, you're not going to convince Trump that racism is bad. He knows it's bad. He doesn't give a shit. It works for him, right?
Yes.
So the quote I pulled out that I liked was where he's talking about the ways in which the American racial hierarchy pits poor white people against Black people, right? So he says, conservative white, and again, this kind of threads right back into Octavia Butler. I didn't do this intentionally, but I can see it in the books. He says, conservative white politicians are able to gain and hold even the highest office. Bear in mind, this was written, when was this written? 80s, 90s? It was written a long time ago. It was written in 92, okay? Yet conservative white politicians are able to gain and hold even the highest office despite their failure to address seriously any of these issues. They rely instead on the time-tested formula of getting needy whites to identify on the basis of their shared skin color and suggest with little or no subtlety that white people must stand together against racial quotas, affirmative action, Willie Horton's. The code words differ, but the message is the same. Whites are rallied on the basis of racial pride and patriotism to accept their often lowly lot in life and encouraged to vent their frustration by opposing any serious advancement by Blacks. Crucial to this situation is the unstated understanding by the mass of whites that they will accept large disparities in economic opportunity in respect to other whites as long as they have a priority over blacks and other people of color for access to the few opportunities available. So he's like the game plan, the MO with white politicians, which has worked for them for the entirety of this country's history, is you lie to poor white people that, like, you know, we're on your side, we're together as white people, even though they stay poor and you stay rich, right? And that works again and again and again. So the book banning right now, they're going to these school boards saying, stop making white people feel bad, ban this book. But at the end of the day, the people, you know, who are living in rural, like in Mississippi and all these places, they're still poor. But it keeps people like Trump. Trump's whole MO was, you know, it's a white nation, right? Yes. His book is really about mapping out how this racial hierarchy gets maintained, who it benefits, and the reality that it's an integral part of how, I'd say the same for Canada, but he was talking about the United States. It's
how this racial hierarchy gets maintained. Oh, yeah. That is terrifying. It's terrifying that there's no awakening happening from poor white people. Do you know what I mean? Like from a
I say poor white people, I mean everybody who's not rich. I mean like middle class white people too. Like,
yes,
you know, the middle class is being eroded. Like, you're never gonna be Elon Musk. Like, you're never gonna have any of that. Not that that's even a thing worth pursuing, right?
Right.
People, yeah. It's everybody doesn't mind maintaining oppression if they get to have some kind of status. Like, this is the thesis here, right?
Faces from the bottom of the well.
Best book on racism written in 1992. Racism in America, anyway.
That's the most fire title I think I've ever seen in my life, too.
B is also for Derrick Bell.